Chris Palme here live at BMO Field here on the Saturday, October 4th, 2025 for today's matchup between the 5-10 Toronto Argonauts and the 9-6 Hamilton Tiger-Cats. Both teams are coming off losses last week, and I have the radio analyst of the Toronto Argonauts on TSN 1050, Ben Grant. Ben, thoughts on today's matchup with Hamilton?
Well, it's a huge game for Toronto, obviously, and Hamilton needs this one too. They would like to wrap things up in the East, but for the Argos, it's must win here on out. And so it's kind of it's like felt playoff-y over the last few weeks anyway, and this one's going to feel like it today, no doubt.
The Argonauts are coming off another close loss to BC last week, 27-22. Just explain for my audience, obviously the Argos have to win out, but what else has to happen for the Argos to get a crossover?
So the Argos have to win out, which means beating Hamilton today, means beating Calgary, and then beating Saskatchewan. Both of those are on the road. That's not going to be easy, but they also need help. So there are three teams that they could technically pass, or at least tie, which is good enough to pass in a crossover situation. So you've got BC, you've got Winnipeg, and you've got Calgary. If any of those teams lose out while Toronto wins out, then Toronto will have a playoff spot. Now, Calgary's got one extra game in there, so that makes it a little bit tougher, but at least there are three options. You're not just counting on one single team needing to lose out, but there's no question the Argos need help. It starts with them. If they don't take care of their own business, it doesn't matter. So it starts with a win today against Hamilton.
Ben, I know last week they lost 27-22 against BC on the road. What were some positives out of that game for Argo fans?
Well, I think, getting Nick Arbuckle back at all, I know he didn't play the way that we've seen him play over the last few weeks, but we weren't even sure that Arbuckle was going to be back even this week, going back a couple weeks ago when Coach Dinwiddie was speculating as to the amount of time he'd be missing. So that was a real positive. I also thought the defense played very well. Nathan Rourke's a great quarterback. They forced turnovers, and they were in that game right to the end, even with the offense not putting up its usual 30 points, which has just kind of been how Toronto has rolled this season. They struggled a bit last week, but the defense kept them in it and showed that if they play all three phases, they can beat anybody.
Thoughts on the running game the entire year? It just seems like other than maybe one or two games, they just haven't been able to establish it this year.
It's been tough. There's no question it's been tough. And I think part of the problem is that teams have been taking that away, aiming to take away the running game and let Nick Arbuckle throw. But that may have shifted because Arbuckle keeps throwing for like 500 yards. So with that being the case, BC last week had a different philosophy. They kind of backed up. They had a shell. They were preventing those deep passes. So we'll see what Hamilton does today. If they want to play a shell as well, I think Toronto will be able to run. But if they come up, hell-bent on stopping the run, it's going to be tough. But I think the Argos will be okay with that because Nick Arbuckle's shown that if you don't play guys deep, he will burn you.
Any chance Chad Kelly returns this year?
It doesn't seem like it. I don't know. I never know anything, but it doesn't seem like it. At this point, with only a few weeks left, it would be even if things felt great for him, it's just not. There's no time. There's no affordability, and you can't have a bad game. There's not time for that. So I think at this point, even if he was ready to go, you probably wouldn't because the season's on the line, and you can't afford for that warm-up period it would take any player returning from this amount of time off due to injury.
Thoughts on today's opponent, the Hamilton Tiger-Cats, who are coming off a 40-3 loss to Winnipeg last Saturday. What do you expect to see from them today?
I don't expect to see what we saw last week. I don't think anybody did. Hamilton is a really exciting team to watch. I've enjoyed watching them this season. Bo Levi Mitchell's throwing the ball, as well as Old Bo through the football. And I don't know, go back like a year and a half or 2 years, I don't know if we thought that was in him. And he's been playing great football. The running game's now going for Hamilton too with Greg Bell. So they are an offensive show. The defense has struggled at times, and so we'll see. Are they going to put forward a defensive performance like last week against Winnipeg, in which case Toronto can take advantage of it? Or are they going to play the way that all their individual players are capable of playing, which is a very high level, and sort of finally mesh together as a team and give the Argos some real trouble?
What are some keys to an Argos win over Hamilton today, in your opinion?
Completion percentage is one of the biggest things. I think Toronto needs to keep marching down the field. They need to play aggressively too. They can't just settle for especially short field goals, seeing 20-yard field goals and things like that. I just feel this is a situation where Toronto's going to need to score touchdowns instead of field goals. I'd like to see them be aggressive and high percentage passes for Arbuckle so that they can work their way down the field. And if the run game's not going, I think abandoning that early is not necessarily a bad thing. We've seen Coach Dinwiddie do that in the past where if it's not rolling, he'll just go to the air. And he trusts Nick to be able to make the throws. So that completion percentage number, I think, is going to be key.
What do you thought on some of the CFL changes? Obviously, there's been people that are for them and against them. So, Ben, I want to get your insights on these changes coming up in 26 and 27 across the league.
Yeah, I think everyone that's either for them or against them, remember that we're all sort of coming from the same place. Like, I've loved the CFL my entire life. I think it's the most exciting version of football. And most CFL fans do. They think that. Whether they're for the rules or against it, at the end of the day, they're cheering for the CFL, and they want the CFL to succeed. And ironically, both sides, whether you're for or against, believe that their path is the greatest chance to make the CFL most successful. And I'm in the group that is for the rule changes. Now, I don't love every single one of them. I don't know that I would have personally have touched the Rouge rule, but I'm fine with it. It doesn't really bother me. That wasn't there were things that I was hanging on to, like 3 downs, 12 players, the waggle, the wide field, like those things I don't think can be touched. The other things I do think improves the game. I've been asking for the goalpost to be moved for about 35 years, and finally,
35 years.
at least that, because as a player, I've run into them. As a coach, I've sworn about having not being able to pass over the middle and down near the goal line. And so, with all that in mind, I like these rule changes, and I love the fact that it is now easier to get this playing surface inside almost any soccer stadium in the world. I think that's fantastic, because the playing surface that we've got currently, it only fits in like 7 places in the world. There's only, even in Canada, it doesn't fit in 2 of the 9 stadiums. And so I think these are just common sense changes. They're not taking away the important stuff, the stuff that makes the CFL unique and makes it exciting. And the other changes are going to make it more aesthetically pleasing, make it more convenient, and be able to take the show on the road.
Finally, Ben, what are your thoughts on MLSE's partnership with the Buffalo Bills, and today being Buffalo Bills Day here with Doug Flutie and Jim Kelly being here?
Yeah, the first ever Friends of Football game, or future football game, is very exciting, because you've got, the biggest thing is it's about kids. You got 200 kids that are going to be here today that participated in the camp that was co-run by the Buffalo Bills and the Toronto Argonauts. This is young kids out playing football. The more of that we can have happen, the better. And like I said, I've been a CFL fan for my whole life. I've been an NFL fan for most of my life too. And so I don't see why you can't do both. And so if you want to put the power of MLSE and the power of the NFL and the Buffalo Bills together, I'm all for it, especially if the end result is more kids around the GTA playing football, playing flag football, whatever it is. I'm for it. So I can't wait to see how this day goes. We've never had one like it. So let's see. I'm excited.
Finally, Ben, what time is your broadcast with Mike Hogan today on TSN 1050, and where can people follow you on social media?
So you can tune in at 2:30 for our pregame show. The kickoff's at 3 o'clock. We'll have that for you as well on TSN 1050. If you want to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's at Ben_Grant, and on Blue Sky, it's at Coach Ben Grant.
And X's and O's right after the game today, correct?
Yeah, the X's and Argos podcast always follows every Argos game, and we've got a pregame show midweek as well. If you want to check that out on your favorite podcast provider, just look up X's and Argos.
Ben, well, thank you so much, and have a great game call with Mike Hogan, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for doing this interview.
Oh, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Ben Grant from TSN 1050.